The HvH community was once full of the biggest edgelords and rejects you could find in CSGO. You could spot them out instantly because they always stood out like a sore thumb. They all looked the exact same, almost like they were made in a factory. But in the last couple of years, all the little things that made HvHers unique or different are gone. The internet has changed so much in the last couple of years. The irony is that the current trends are exactly the things HvHers were doing 10 years ago. So I guess HvHers were really ahead of the curve. The truth is, Counter-Strike's HvH community has been dead for at least 5 years now, probably longer. To me, the HvH com died in 2021. COVID gave it some life, but it was already dying, and all it did was prolong the inevitable. By 2022, it was completely dead. And then CS2 came out and gave it some life for a few months. Then it went right back to being dead. It didn't really matter since HvHers weren't the same anymore. Not only had the internet changed, but HvHers changed, and not for the better. Somehow, they'd gotten even poorer, and their edgy personalities were replaced with ironic personalities. In the past, HvHers used to try incredibly hard to appear mysterious and nonchalant. Nothing bothered them. They didn't care about anything. Their Steam profiles had minimal details and were always very basic and bland. And of course, their avatars were always a dead giveaway. They always had the most aesthetic, we-hearted Tumblr images you could find. So much so that it wasn't that uncommon to see multiple different HvHers using the same picture. They loved the edgy and simplistic vibes that these images had. City pics were extremely common, but even more common were pics of girls smoking or holding a gun or just standing or looking over a city. Modern HvHers don't use these kinds of avatars anymore. They use unfunny TikTok meme pictures that only 5-year-olds find funny. Their profiles aren't edgy anymore. They're ironic. They're intentionally cringe and unfunny, with zero sense of subtlety. Apparently, if you're self-aware and being a cornball on purpose, that's somehow supposed to be funny, but it never is. This is more of a problem in general with the internet, since everyone thinks hiding under 10 layers of irony gives you a personality. The real irony is, pictures that HvHers used to use are now used by normies and comm girls. Anytime you see a comm girl using a picture that isn't a selfie with a filter, they're using pictures HvHers used to use back around 2016. So we've kind of come full circle, where it used to be mostly guys using aesthetic girl pictures, but now they're used by actual girls. Being basic and indifferent is now a common thing, not just among comm people, but the internet in general. Everyone wants to appear like that cool guy that no one knows anything about. In their minds, they have some fantasy where people will just be so fascinated and flock to them because of how nonchalant they are. In reality, no one cares, and you're not impressing anyone, especially when so many people do this. So what used to be an easy giveaway for spotting HvHers is now all over the place. But the HvH com wasn't just edgy boys or mysterious hackers. There were also a decent amount of skeet femboys and troons. They all had the same kind of aliases and pictures. Their made-up name, of course, which was always lowercase and something generic like Sophie or Lilith. It's sad to say that even this type has infested the internet. Just like how it used to be really easy to spot an HvHer, it was even easier to spot a troon. Now, don't get me wrong, it's still easy, especially since none of them can help themselves because they're always posting how horny they are, and they're always eating another troon. But the waters are a bit more muddy now. E-girls and troons now use the same kind of pictures and act pretty similar. It used to be if you saw someone using an anime girl picture and their name was something like Soft Kitty Bunny, it was always a man. Now, it can actually be a real girl. Even someone calling themselves a puppy girl, which was exclusively done by AGPs, is now used by real girls. E-girls will call themselves bunnies, kittens, puppies, and now the new one is deer. I can't wait to see what the next animal people will call themselves. Maybe chinchilla girls, or bird girls. It's pretty wild that anyone with a profile like this is either a grown-ass man or a teenage girl. Another character trait that HvHers used to have was having a massive ego and superiority complex. No one loved stroking their own ego more than HvHers. They all thought they were the best, richest, smartest, and most skilled players to ever walk the earth. They'd all have over 200 screenshots saved that nobody ever once looked at. They'd have countless meaningless screenshots of their score on HvH servers. Any normal person would find it super embarrassing that you just spent that many hours on HvH servers, and even worse, that you're bragging about it. HvHers were always just full of themselves, so they had little self-awareness. They didn't understand that admitting to playing HvH was already bad enough, but saying that you're better than other virgins in this made-up game mode is even worse. Current-day HvHers are not like this anymore. Sure, some brand new HvHers may be like that to an extent, but it's in a more neutered way. They don't have the same ego, and they're nowhere near as obnoxious and self-centered as old HvHers used to be. A lot of them are even friendly, which just feels wrong. There are times when you join an HvH server and people are actually nice and supportive. It's genuinely gross to be in an HvH server and have people spreading kindness and being respectful. If they're not insulting me and telling me to refund my cheat and uninstall the game, I don't want them. Why are HvHers nice now? I guess these new HvHers never experienced the old days where it was basically World War III on any server. I never thought HvHers having huge egos and being dipshits would become nostalgic. Maybe the saddest thing of all is that old buzzwords are now used everywhere. Even though these terms obviously didn't come from the HvH com, they were still always used and part of HvH culture. Slang like no name is now a term even the most random people use. The one I really want to talk about though is the death of the word LARP. LARP used to be a somewhat niche term, used only by people who were in comm or in places like OG users or 4chan. But in the last couple of months, it's blown up and now everyone and their grandma uses it. And they don't even use it right. None of them know what LARP even means. They just use it as a substitute for pretend. So now, another word that I've been using since back when Obama was president has been ruined and stolen by normies. This really has nothing to do with HvH, but I needed to get it off my chest, since it's been annoying me. So, what does the HvH community look like in 2026? Well, it's just the newest of newcomers. People that no one has ever heard of. Anyone that was even moderately known quit the game years ago, or at least quit cheating. Modern HvHers spend their life buying $20 or $30 cheat subs to play against the same brand new players. They record highlight montages that get 20 views, and none of them even have mains anymore. They're all using bot or lulz accounts. Even though literally 0 people know who they are, they still have aliases for some reason. You wouldn't want to get mediated and have 0 people recognize you. People are still buying skeet invites in the big 2.6. It really doesn't get more pathetic than that. It's less embarrassing to buy some girl's OnlyFans than it is to buy a skeet invite. So why did the HvH com die? Well, there's a few reasons. First, CS2 HvH will always be inferior to CSGO, and even desync was pretty bad compared to fake angles. Honestly, HvH died in 2018 when fake angles got patched. After that, it was just a steady decline that only lived because people just refused to let go. If you still enjoy HvH in 2026, good for you. Flex that 5-digit skeet UID and remember that the more ironic you are, the more people will think you're cool and funny.